Today I want to tell you the difference between boring Americans and boring Korean people. Now in San Diego, I have this American friend, I guess. I mean, I know her, she's an acquaintance. And she is very much what I think of when I think of boring Americans. Her style of being boring, I would consider a very American style of being boring, which is she just talks. She just talks and talks endlessly. And she's like the epitome of this boringness because a lot of the times she tells a story, which is fine. I mean, that's kind of what a conversation is. You tell a story, I tell a story, you give an opinion, I give an opinion, and it's a mix of a lot of storytelling. But her stories had no arc. Her stories had no climax. They had no reason or rhyme. It was funny because she would also hang out with Korean people and it would just confuse the hell out of them because the Korean person's kind of sitting there looking for the moment that her story ends so they can go, oh. Right? Whether they like the story or not, they want to be polite, so they want to kind of say that. But because her stories have no arc, there's even American people who speak English perfectly don't know where her story ends. Her story will be something like, I went to the zoo and then I saw a tiger and a lion and a bear, and there were also hippos there. And then you're sitting there, it's like, no, everyone's confused, like, is that the end of the story, or she has something else to say? And the Korean people will be sitting there thinking, like, is my English bad? What? She, and then she'll just sit there, and then everyone realizes, oh, that's the end of the story. I go, wow, that's kind of amazing, I guess. So this is very typical of what I would consider like boring American. For everyone in the world, silences between two people in a conversation are kind of awkward. I think maybe not everyone in the world, maybe I'm exaggerating, but this is a common human thing where you're just sitting with somebody else and it feels awkward. And I think for Korean people it's awkward as well, but for Americans it's like sacrilegious. It's like just the worst, like we can't accept it. So we have to fill in that silence with something, and the boring American fills it in with nonsensical, with irrelevant stories that nobody cares about. And I guess part of it is to feel like not rude to have something going on, but I've just met so many American people who like don't even know how to tell a good story, but just keep going on and on and on and on. And it's boring. I don't want to hear irrelevant stories about the time you went to the zoo and you saw a tiger. Not amazing. That's where tigers live, at the zoo. But then I think of Korean boring style. It's kind of like the polar opposite. The boring Korean people I've been with generally just don't talk. They just sit there and don't say anything. And then for me, this is kind of okay because I love attention, so I just want to sit there and tell all my stories and all my stories. But then at some point, like I need someone to at least prompt me for a story. Like a lot of times I've met some boring Korean people who don't even ask me questions. They just kind of sit there and like I give them a story and they sit there and go, oh, that's a nice story. And then they're like waiting for me to go on and just entertain them the whole time. And then sometimes I'm trying to help them. I'll ask them a question. I'll say something like, have you seen any movies recently? Batman. Did you like the movie? Yes. Why did you like the movie? It was funny. Why was it funny? I liked it. And it just goes on like this. And it's like, do you have any more answers to give me? Can you say anything more? Is that it? And this is what I think about the Korean style of boring, which is just don't say anything. And the American style of boring is just rambling on and on and on about nothing. And I was thinking a lot about this before I made this video, like, which style do I hate more? Which style is more boring? Which style is worse? And this is 100% subjective. Some people might think American style is worse or better, blah, blah, blah. This is 100% subjective. This is just my opinion. But personally, I kind of dislike the American style more. And here's why. The Korean style is, of course, boring. Both styles are boring. But, and sometimes I feel a little angry at the Korean person, especially if it's a person who's just really not even asking me any questions. It feels like they're just sitting there and like watching me just do my thing and just like, they're not even trying to make a conversation. And then I sit there and I think, okay, I'm not gonna say anything, let's see what happens. And then they're just quiet. And it's like, both people have some duty in the conversation to make something interesting happen, to make some reason why we're hanging out here and talking. And there must be a reason why we're talking here. And it's both of our responsibilities to make something interesting happen. And then they just don't try. And that makes me a little angry. I don't know about angry. Yeah, kind of a little angry. But the American style to me is so much worse because it kind of includes this arrogance. This arrogance of like, I'm going to keep talking, and of course you want to listen to me. Doesn't matter what I'm saying. Doesn't matter if I say anything interesting or not interesting. You want to listen to me, don't you? Like in America, a lot of us want attention. We're big on attention, Americans. And so it's like whoever is listening is kind of being the nice person. So when I meet a boring American person, they just ramble on and on, tell me a nonsensical story that nobody cares about, and I'm supposed to sit there and listen to them? It's kind of them saying like, of course you find me interesting, don't you? It has this arrogance of like, you know, in my mind, attention is something people want. And if you want somebody's attention, if they're kind enough to give it to you, you've got to fight for it. You've got to say something interesting so that you deserve that attention. And when I see these boring Americans ramble on and on and on and don't say anything interesting, it's kind of like this arrogant thing of like, you know, of course you want to listen to me. That just makes me so angry. Now you might be sitting there saying like, what a jerk, he's calling all these people boring and he assumes he's not boring, all this stuff. And the thing is, I really hate boredom. I really hate being bored. Like, I say this in a lot of my videos, life is so goddamn short, okay? We have to use every year, month, day, minute, second, whatever. We have to use every instant, every moment of our life as best we can. And there's times when you have to work, and work is productive and it helps society, and you're making something. And like working is something we all have to do, and that's a good use of your time. But in your leisure time as well, you have to enjoy your time. And being bored or boring somebody else is by definition not taking advantage of that moment of your life, not taking advantage of that minute or hour or whatever of your life. This is why I hate being bored. And of course, boring is just by definition just not fun. That's why we call it boring. So I hate being bored. And I don't want you to think that because of this, you know, it looks like I'm judging boring people and you know, being angry at them. I guess I'm a little angry, but I don't hate boring people. I want to be clear about that. I feel sorry for boring people. Number one, if they're boring themselves, they meet another boring person, they're definitely going to be bored of that situation. But like they spend so much, I don't know, because I consider myself not a boring person. I'm sure I'm going to get some comments saying that I am, but I assume that people who are just naturally boring are bored themselves quite a bit. We have this expression in English, only boring people are bored, which means like if you're a fun person, you'll never be bored because you're just kind of having fun. So number one, I feel bad because they must spend a lot of their time bored, which means they're kind of wasting their life, like I said a moment ago. But also, if you're boring, it must be hard to make friends. If you're boring, it must be hard to make a boyfriend or a girlfriend, right? Nobody wants to be around a boring person. It must be hard to get a job. It must be hard to do so many things that require human interaction because you're a boring person and people don't want to be around you if you're boring. And I wish I made some videos about like how I might make a link to them about how you can be less boring, or my strategy for not being a boring person. And I don't want anyone to think that like I hate boring people. I just feel bad for them for those reasons I've given. And I really want to, and I'm just making this video to, I don't want to talk about boring people so much, but I really want to show you, these videos are supposed to be about American versus Korean culture. I just really want to show you guys this big difference between boring Americans and boring Korean people. Boring Americans, and because it's also completely opposite, which makes it a little interesting. Boring Americans talk endlessly about nothing, about completely unconsequential events and things. And Korean people are 100% the opposite, where a boring Korean person often just doesn't say anything. So if you like my video, give it a thumbs up. If you hate my video, give it a thumbs down. If you love me or hate me, please hit the subscribe button. You know, I don't know. I feel like a lot of people are gonna hate this video just because it kind of sounds arrogant, like I think I'm so fun and entertaining. Look at all these boring people, blah, blah, blah. So if you hate this video, of course, leave comments and tell me I'm a big old poopy. If you like this video, leave comments, say how interesting, yay, rah, rah, rah. Yeah, just leave comments, I love comments. And remember that every Friday at 7 p.m. a new video comes out. So if it's past 7 p.m. on a Friday, there's a new video out and you should check it out. And of course, the #1 most important thing, have a super awesome day.